Hi, this is a recap of a fairly aggressive attempt at the Great Divide mountain bike route. For those that do not know, it is a cycling route that runs from Banff, Alberta, all the way to the New Mexico border. It is 70% off pavement, it follows the Continental Divide, and it is 2,745 miles long, or 4,418 kilometers long. We had a group of 2 for this trip, myself and my uncle, and we only got 3 days of riding in before we had to end our trip entirely at the Roosville, Canada/USA border. We had a simple plan of riding about 200 kilometers each day for 3 weeks straight. The section of the route we rode was very stunning, but we had to unfortunately stop due to extreme exhaustion and dehydration. But also we did have some issues with our bikes as well. I'll explain all of this later in the video. On day 1, we rode from Banff, Alberta all the way to Elkford, BC. We covered 178 kilometers with 2,310 meters of elevation gained. On day 2, we rode from Elkford to Pollock Creek campsite. We covered 113 kilometers and 1,470 meters of elevation gain. Finally, on day 3, we rode from Pollock Creek campground to the Roosville border crossing. We covered 122 kilometers with 2,461 meters of elevation gain. We of course had to stop our trip at the Roosville, Canada-USA border. We had 3 big issues on this trip, and I want to share them to help prepare and advise anyone who's thinking about taking on this massive trip. Our first day, we had a plan A of getting to Sparwood for camp. Our group was quite fatigued after the first day and only made it to Elkford for sunset. We knew that our pace of 200 kilometers a day was not going to be possible, and we wouldn't make it to Antelope Wells within our trip's timeline. This was very disappointing, but in hindsight, not unexpected. My point here is to be realistic with your trip plan. Coming out of the Flathead Reserve descent, approximately 12 kilometers of descent, one of our bikes had numerous flat tires. We ran out of spare tubes and we could not get a patch to hold. This is a good thing to be prepared for, as the gravel on the descent is pretty rocky, so it's very easy to get a pinch flat, especially with the weight of the bags on your bike. I would highly recommend running tubeless simply for this reason. You can only bring so many tubes, and patching on the spot is very difficult. Cycling the Great Divide by Michael McCoy has some good info on preparing for the Flathead section. We ultimately had to walk our bikes for the last 3 kilometers to the Roosville border, which is something that nobody wants to do. Lastly, we had to stop entirely due to an extreme medical complication related to kidney functions. We did have to go to the hospital in Montana, and reluctantly, we did have to stop the ride from direct doctor's orders. Do not underestimate the need for hydration, rest, and electrolyte intake. Again, make a realistic plan and stick to it. I do plan to return to the route sometime soon, likely via the Tour Divide this time. Thanks for watching, and I wish you safe adventures ahead. Oh, hey, you're still here? Why don't you just give that subscribe button a good slap and check out some of my other adventures or gear reviews.